Everything, everything gonna be all right this morning.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, off to the races once again for another episode for the archives. It's me speaking to you and returning once again after picking up a very impressive W just a little over a week ago. This young man put on a clinic here at Caged Aggression, the Triad. Had a very game opponent in William Gibson. We're going to chop it up all about it. The first ever UFC lightweight champion of this world calls him the violent Matt Damon. I call him the babyface assassin. He is the time bomb. Thomas Blackorby, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
No complaints, man. You know how it is. Every day above ground's a good day. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I appreciate you taking the time. You just had a little bit of practice. I think you said you had practice in your back. Appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
Without a doubt, man. Been a big fan of this young man for a while. Like I said, he's been on the show before. I'm telling you, remember this young man's name, man. It's ever evolving, ever developing. And like I said, you had that recent fight a little over a week ago against William Gibson. Tough one. Found out how deep the gas tank was. Talk to us a little bit how that one played out for you, brother.
Yeah, man. Like you said, he was a game opponent from a game gym. We knew he was from Vegas. We knew he was from Syndicate MMA, and there's multiple UFC champions there and tons of high caliber fighters. So we knew it was going to be a tough one. As always, I'm trying to go for the finish. That's just what I do when I step in that cage. Every second in there, I'm looking for the finish. And this time it wasn't part of the plan, but. Spent more time on the ground than I thought, but like you said, I controlled it everywhere, and I went all 15 minutes.
A very, again, dominant performance. And again, most people, when they see you and see kind of your background, it's a lot of Muay Thai, a lot of striking, but people sleep on your ground game, man. You've been wrestling for a very, very long time, since Moby Dick was a minnow, as they say. Yeah,
absolutely, and especially for this camp, like starting in the beginning of February, I kept it kind of low-key, but I was up there at Valley Flow in Chicago training with, tons of high UFC fighters. I mean, Bilal Muhammad's running the practices, and, he's the UFC welterweight champion. There was probably in those practices, 10 or 12 UFC fighters. So it was just one of those things where I surround myself with better people than me, and it's one of those things where it's iron sharpens iron, and I'm always trying to get better.
Well, absolutely, and that's definitely something I've spoken to you about, man. It's like some of the keys to success is not just your physical attributes, but who you surround yourself with to help you cultivate those attributes. And again, you have a solid team. And again, I know a faith is a huge part of your team, and how you motivate yourself. Yep. And again, your father being a huge part of it. And again, I think that's, for me personally, just watching you. I mean, this game can be, as it's obviously it's pitfalls, and I think you surrounding yourself with the right people is going to help you navigate those waters a little bit more efficiently and effectively than some other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just hit it, the nail on the head. Like, honestly, so much of this goes, out to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Like, I say that every time I get a mic in my hand, but truly so much of my game comes from that, just having faith, having, something bigger to look up to. And, it's cool seeing my teammates at Pure Athletic Club start to notice my faith. And this Saturday is actually me and a couple of guys after sparring are going to do a Bible study, so I think that's really cool. And man, it's just great.
No, it's awesome, man. It's cool to see, and obviously it's working very well for you guys. And I think, like I said, last time we chatted, you had picked up another W last fall, and not too long before that you had signed with Iridium. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So obviously you're taking this, slow and steady, winning the race. You're not necessarily looking for a UFC title shot, not quite yet. Not trying to eat the whale in one bite. So what do they have planned for you, and what are your thoughts, man? What are your plans as you move forward?
My plans as far as the next fight, I'm going to talk to my dad this weekend. I'm looking for a fight maybe late June or early, July, ideally. And I also want to hop back on Caged Aggression's October show. So that's the next as far as fighting. But yeah, man, Iridium, I've been with them almost 3 years, and, they're great guys. Eric Anders, UFC middleweight, he signed me just over 3 years ago now. And, he saw a lot of potential in me. And, I went down to his house actually last year and stayed with him. So we built a relationship, and all those guys over at Iridium are super cool.
That's awesome, man. Again, that's another essential part of the team you surround yourself with, who's lining up your next fight, etc. In not too long ago, man, you were able to take a trip over to Thailand. Give us a little insight on how that was and how that helped sharpen the game.
Yeah, man. So I mean, me and 4 of my teammates went over to Thailand in August, all the way towards the end of September. So it was almost it was a month out of my fight camp for my second pro fight back in October. And man, the training over there is next level. We knew it was going to be, next level, but when we actually got to Phuket and we're training at Bang Tao with the Hickman brothers,
wow.
2 former, high division wrestlers over here. I mean, you go to one of those sparring practices, there's 70, 80 pro athletes. Half of them
wow.
are in one championship. Some of them from Dagestan, Uzbekistan. So like you're literally thrown into the fire and forced to get better. And man, just in those 2 weeks at that gym alone, it made me jump so many levels in every aspect of the game.
Wow. You talk about iron sharpening iron, man. That's the belly of the beast over there in Thailand for sure, man. Wow. Well, that's so sweet, man. Again, man, I thank you so much for your time. And seriously, it's just been anybody with 2 eyes, and could watch and are students of the game know, man, that you have such a very bright future. Again, not just from your physical attributes and your talents, which are quite evident, but again, the team you surrounded yourself with your father. I mean, it's just awesome to watch, man. I can't wait to see what else has in store for you, brother.
I really appreciate the kind words, Jeffrey. And, like you said, my dad has given me everything. We butt heads every once in a while.
Of course.
Obviously, like any father and son do. But, I love him so much. And, he's helped me. And I told him one day, years ago, that I will be a UFC champion and he will be in my corner. So we're going to keep gunning there,
Absolutely, man. Pops ain't going to steer you wrong without a shadow of a doubt. Big ups to Pops Ryan Blackorby. Thomas, man, the Time Bomb, again, looking forward to your next scrap, man, and you picking up the next W. It's been an honor to watch you develop, man, and like I said, you sky's the limit for you, my friend.
Yep, thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
And before I let you slide, where can we track you down, man, to follow any progress? And I will leave a link to that in this description to this episode here.
Yes, you can either follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Thomas_Blackorby.
You got it, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Time Bomb, Thomas Blackorby. Until next time, guys, peace and so much love. Stay tuned. There'll always be more. Late.